Welcome back. This is part 2 of our business driver discussion. We're diving into our next 3 key business drivers. If you haven't watched part 1, definitely go check that out. Okay, let's dive in. Business driver number 4 is your valuation pendulum. Okay, we call it that to indicate the inverse relationship between your working capital needs and your ability to earn a high valuation. The greater your working capital needs, the lower your market valuation, and vice versa. Let's break it down. When a buyer wants to buy your business, they're essentially writing 2 checks. They have to. The first check is for the value of your business itself, but the second check is for the company's working capital, which is the money you need for your daily operation. And here's the twist. The more cash an acquirer has to set aside for working capital, the less inclined they are to pay for the overall acquisition of your business. If you can master the valuation pendulum, it's a game changer. Okay. Companies that optimize this, they showcase that they have superior financial resilience. Their cash flow is finely tuned, and that makes them adaptable to economic fluctuations. So let's dive into some real world examples so you understand what I'm talking about when I say valuation pendulum. So Dell computers, we all know Dell. They have a build to order model in which customers pay for their customized computers before Dell even begins the assembly process. And that allows the company to use the funds that they just collected from their customer to then go and procure the necessary components to build the computer. That reduces their need for working capital, and it's contributed significantly to Dell's market valuation. Okay, if you have a company where your customer places an order and then you have to go spend a ton of money first to fulfill the order, and then after that, you get paid by your customer, you are going to have a high working capital need. Okay. This is all about the cash cycle. So another example, Airbnb. I'm staying in one right now. When a guest books a stay, Airbnb collects that payment immediately, but they only disperse the funds to the host after the guest checks in. So that lag allows Airbnb to maintain a positive cash flow, and that enhances its market value. I mean, sometimes I book Airbnbs 8 months out. So they get my cash up front. They get to sit on it for 8 months before they actually have to pay it out. That's an extremely, extremely valuable cash cycle. Now, these companies leverage their positive cash flow cycles to reduce their need for working capital, and that ultimately enhances their valuation in the market. If you neglect your cash flow, it's like depriving a business of oxygen. I mean, if you're running short on cash, that not only poses an existential threat, can you make payroll next week, but it also hampers your operational liquidity. And you can see how that would negatively impact your business in the eyes of an investor or acquirer. In fact, you probably need to go get a line of credit or something like that just to finance your operation. The simplest tactics, and many companies we work with, when they have a poor cash cycle, they have to go secure a line of credit or some sort of financing in order to make sure that they can continue running. The simplest tactics, though, to improve your cash cycle are to accelerate your receivables, right? So get paid faster by your customers, extend your payables, so pay your vendors a little slower if possible, and then optimize your inventory levels. Okay, you don't need to have all your cash sitting there in your warehouse in the form of inventory that you'll sell in the future. You need the right amount of inventory so that the rest of it can be liquidated as cash. These steps help to balance your operational cash needs. The next business driver number 5, is recurring revenue. I know we've all heard the term. It's not just a buzzword. It is a valuation multiplier. Seriously. It's honestly was traditionally just in the software and services spaces, but now recurring revenue models are infiltrating all sectors of the economy, and we highly encourage it with all of our clients. The true power of recurring revenue, as you might guess, is in its predictability. Okay, it's that steady heartbeat of reliable revenue that you know every month, boom, it's coming, and that minimizes your risk, and it improves your cash flow, and it allows you to more accurately forecast investments that you can make in the future because you know you have guaranteed money coming in. So with this revenue model, you'll also see increased customer lifetime value because you're not just doing a one-time purchases, you're doing recurring purchases with your customer, which allows you to have more touch points with your customer so that you can offer additional products, services, you can refer them to partners. There are all these different unique ways if you have those additional touch points with customers. So reduce risks, improved cash flow, increased customer lifetime value, increased customer touch points. Those factors make businesses with recurring revenue not just stable and predictable, but also extremely attractive to potential buyers. So let's look at some non-software recurring revenue examples. A company called Farm Drop. It's an online marketplace for connecting consumers to local farmers. And they introduced a subscription model for regular food deliveries, and that elevated their valuation. The Honest Company offers a subscription service for diapers and wipes, and that added a layer of predictability to their revenue. Third example, the Barber Surgeons Guild, a luxury grooming service, introduced membership plans for regular grooming and upkeep to improve their cash flow predictability. And then, of course, let's not forget CleanCo. It's a mid-sized industrial cleaning company. Okay, I'm giving you all these different non-software examples. They all have recurring revenue. So CleanCo, mid-sized industrial cleaning company. The industry norm was basically one-off projects. Okay, we will show up and we will clean your warehouse. But CleanCo was finding it very, very difficult to attract outside growth capital. So they honestly disrupted the industry norm by introducing a subscription-based cleaning service for their B2B clients. For a set monthly fee, clients receive weekly cleaning and maintenance services along with emergency cleanups as needed. And that initiative stabilized their income, set a new standard for the industry, and also allowed them to raise money and set them on a predictable path for growth. So recurring revenue, there are many, many creative ways to put some sort of recurring revenue model in place. And it doesn't need to be all of your revenue, but having some percentage of your revenue as recurring makes your business look a lot more valuable. Final business driver for today, we call monopoly control. And this is a concept inspired by Warren Buffett, pretty smart guy. Monopoly control is about businesses aiming for a larger competitive moat around them. So with that competitive moat, they gain pricing authority and ultimately can elevate their business valuation. So picture this, a business with monopoly control is the only business in its market that offers its unique product or service or bundle of products and services. So since it's the only business in its market that does that, it can essentially dictate the terms in its market. So no longer impeded by competitive pressures, this power allows the business to set its pricing strategy. In other words, charge higher prices. And as Warren Buffett often emphasizes, the broader your competitive moat, the greater your pricing authority, the greater your ability to charge higher prices. Now, let's uncover the earnings to gross margin connection. Okay. A company with a monopoly, or even a quasi-monopoly like we're talking about, can set prices without significant customer backlash. And that ability to price high will lead to superior gross margins because you're making more money on every sale. Higher gross margins, in turn, flow through to your earnings, which ultimately translates to a higher business valuation. But the virtuous cycle is actually this. Those increased earnings, you can then take and invest back into maintaining your unique marketing position so that you can maintain your broad moat and your monopoly power and thus create even higher earnings. And the cycle just continues and continues if you reinvest your higher earnings. So here's an example. TechSite entered a crowded software market, but chose to specialize in a very narrow field, healthcare compliance. Sounds really boring. But by recognizing that general healthcare software often lacked really, really strong compliance features, TechSite decided to fill just that niche void. And the company developed proprietary algorithms and databases that significantly eased the burden of compliance for healthcare companies. And they even backed up their product with really, really good customer service and continued updates, iterative updates, so that their service or their software kept up with the constantly changing regulations, which were always so confusing to healthcare businesses. So TechSite's focus on that specialized, very niche need allowed it to essentially own that market segment completely. And that gave them pretty significant monopoly control and pricing authority, which led to really strong gross margins, really high earnings, and that made them an attractive investment opportunity. So as you can see, niche specialization reduces competition, earns you monopoly control. You could also use patents and intellectual property. Those grow your competitive moat. And so does developing a unique product or service that is really, really important to your customers' operations. So that wraps up part 2 of 3 of our key business driver review. Before you watch part 3, if you'd like to learn more about how your business is doing along these business driver dimensions, we do have a free questionnaire for you. We'll link to it in the description. It's 35 questions. And at the end of that, we can then share your full score report with you. And we've had more than 70,000 business owners take this questionnaire. And our data shows that businesses that achieve a score of 80 or higher end up getting acquisition offers that are 70% more than the average scoring business. So really cool to figure out where you are on this score report, and then how you can make changes and pull these different business drivers to get up above 80, which gets you into that range where we're talking about a very strong valuation. Go ahead and take that questionnaire. Don't forget to subscribe, and we will see you next time on The Lion's Den.